Good evening, guys. It's Stephen here, back with another video. A couple of days after City's 1-0 defeat against Forest, it's time to pick through the bones a tiny bit more. 1 against Forest, this is 5 things that we learned from it. Yeah, it wasn't fun. It wasn't a lot of fun. Look, my head's calmed an awful lot since then. I wasn't too upset about it at the time either, because I'm very much aware of where we are these days. You know, we are very much in that state of transition, and it's very hard to escape that. And it's very hard for me not to view everything through that prism, you know. And that's what I'm trying to do still. It doesn't mean the results in isolation can't be frustrating. Of course they can, absolutely. But you know, we will get through this. We will get through this, and I think there's plenty to talk about today. Hello's in the chat as well, by the way. Mad Hatter's very angry with the capitals there. We try and be analytical, mate. You know, there's always something to talk about. Writing Studios, very much living up to his name there. Writing an awful lot. Good to see. Thank you very much, my mate. Arjun as well. Uzbekistan in the chat as always. Good to see you guys there. Please give the video a like and please subscribe if you are new to the channel. It does help support a lifelong Manchester City fan from Manchester. If you want to help, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's get going and do all that. So of course this isn't an exhaustive list of everything to talk about. It's just 5 things that I want to talk about in personally. You know, it's not always newly learned either, but it's something to take from the game. You know, so you can argue with the definition all you want, but ultimately it's just a way for me to be a little bit more picky about what I talk about. If you want to watch more broadly, go watch the match reaction. We'll start with the only place we can really start, not number 2 there, which I messed up. It'll be this guy. It'll be this man here, Kusonav. Abdukodir Khusanov, man. Jesus. This kid is absolutely ridiculous. Yet another monster class, a masterclass of defensive ability. This guy is an absolute physical freak, and I can't believe already he looks like a bargain at £35 million. Abdukodir Khusanov right now, and this is the point I want to make, is a nailed-on start for Manchester City Football Club. I think even if John Stones and Akanji returned and Ake returned, I think this kid would still be starting anyway because he's absolutely the solution to so many of Manchester City's defensive problems. I think he's so good that I cannot see any other circumstance him being a world-class player if he carries on at this level. Ridiculously good. Oh my God, what a footballer he is. His reading of the game is so smart, and his personality, the bravery, the composure that he's plays with, the pace, the aggression. When that guy gets going, he really is like a freight train. Absolutely pelting it down the pitch. Some of his recovery runs are amazing. His composure in the air as always. Look, there is still rough edges here to sort of, you know, polish over. For example, I think he overcommits a couple of times when he's trying to do the Vincent Kompany aggressive, win the ball high up the pitch thing. He's not got close a couple of times, which is just experience. And I'm sure we'll start to see a more broader range of passing, even though his passing is already good. But right now, this kid is coming out of nowhere and shown that he has the potential to be an absolute superstar. I saw someone that I know compare him to Cannavaro in how he plays, and I can genuinely see that, because Cannavaro wasn't the biggest centre-back in the world. This guy is bigger than Cannavaro, but he was one to use his pace and his anticipation to sweep up everything, and it's a very similar feel to Kusonav to that. He's got the pace of Kyle Walker on the return. He's like very close to Kyle Walker's pace running back towards his own goal. He's got the aggression of Ruben Diaz and the confidence on the ball of Laporte. Obviously, he's not quite at their level fully yet, but a ridiculous player. Genuinely ridiculous. It's such a pleasure to witness a superstar being born at your club out of nowhere. And a guy, apparently, the jury is out still, if you believe the pundits. Look, I tell you what, the pundits, if you ever want to know if the pundits are, you know, blagging it, you've only got to look at how they react to a new signing they've never heard of. They've made their minds up already, and they're clearly not paying any attention to how he's played since then, because he's been absolutely brilliant ever since the first 5 minutes of the Chelsea game, where he recovered his composure after that. He's been great. Yeah, we've got ourselves a potential future superstar here. I really think he's that good. There is no weakness to his game. And that's crazy to say for a 21-year-old centre-back who's just joined, who doesn't speak English still. Yeah, ridiculous. I love the guy. What an exciting player. Genuinely exciting. And yeah, hello to everyone from Uzbekistan who's absolutely loving these videos right now. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're new here. The main talking point I wanted to go for, though, which is after the positive is a negative, it's the title of the video. We do lack I lack grammar, apparently. City lack creative in the middle. Creativity is what I meant to say. There's a typo there. Yeah. We do. Like, I watched City against Nottingham Forest, and the one thing that struck me, away from the defensive and the midfield issues and look, the midfield issues are part of this too, is there's a real lack of ingenuity or creativity or spark from this Manchester City side. Over the previous few years, City have lent heavily into individual brilliance in midfield. You think about, Rodri with those diagonal passes or a 20-yard in the bottom corner, or Kevin De Bruyne being absolutely wonderful, and doing magical things. Even Phil Foden banging 20-odd goals in from the centre last year as well. While also having Bernardo and Grealish out wide. We were largely a central attacking unit. Those guys were central possessions, but they weren't beating people and causing loads of, most of our brilliance came through the middle, essentially. It came through Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri in the treble era, It came from that level of quality. Now we don't really have that, I would argue. We don't have, that's a good way of putting it, Nidawala. We don't have a leader in the middle of creativity. Rodri's not there anymore, so that's a creative blow. He'll be back eventually, of course. It's one of those things where Rodri isn't there. Kevin De Bruyne isn't there anymore. I would say Kevin De Bruyne is just not there. Like, he's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but we've gone from, he used to be a genius. I don't think Kevin De Bruyne is currently a genius, and I don't mean that as a derogatory thing. I love Kevin De Bruyne, and I want to be wrong, but I can't remember the last time De Bruyne did anything that I was like, whoa. He used to do that once a game, a pass, that he deserved. And he put past that, you'd think, how has he done that? We just don't see that anywhere near as often with Kevin De Bruyne anymore. So we've gone from having the best creative playmaker I've ever seen in my life to a pretty decent one now, a good one. And Phil's not stepped up creatively either. So essentially, it feels like our only options are coming from out wide. It's give the ball to the wingers and hope they can do something. Because we're not getting anything from Kovacic. We're not getting anything from Bernardo Silva, who's lost all creativity and he seems to be mainly just a functional player now. Phil's dropped massively. De Bruyne is gone, I would argue, in terms of true top-level brilliance. And I'd argue the same for Gundogan. So Gundogan gave you magic in terms of movement and touch and anticipation and finishing. De Bruyne was just a genius playmaker. Foden gave you goals and one-touch passing and the odd dribble. And then Rodri gave those world-class goals and great diagonal passes over the back line and so on to nothing, essentially. We've got nothing in the middle. Nico Gonzalez is new, so I won't put anything on him. Bernardo offers nothing. Kovacic offers nothing. Gundogan, De Bruyne, Foden done nothing all season, really. There's a big old drop there, and I do think this is one of our biggest problems. I think the links to Florian Wirtz make an awful lot of sense. I want to see City. Obviously, it'll get better when Rodri comes back because he'll help. But I want to see City sign a creative genius. I want to see someone who can play as I want a 10. I want an 8. I want to see new ideas in the middle. I'm sure it'll change when Rodri's back, and we might not need two midfielders. Just the one might do it. But there's definitely a feeling, in my opinion, of a lack of quality technically and creativity. We've gone from having geniuses everywhere to, I would say, none in midfield right this season, which is a big dip, and we need to change that. And a big part of changing that, in my opinion, would be moving on from the treble. Look, I understand the argument of experience and we want a deeper squad and you can't replace everyone, so this is not even fully possible. But I do think mentally and subconsciously, it'd be really important to separate City as much as possible from the treble. There are some players that would need to be wrestled from Pep's grasp for his own good, I would argue. Maybe this man alongside me right here, my Portuguese brother from another mother, Bernardo Silva. Maybe for like Gundogan, Jack Grealish, maybe one or two defenders. I think we just need to move on now for the sake of separation and for the sake of forcing new ideas into existence. Sometimes when you strip assets, you sort of necessity is the mother of invention, is the saying, or something like that, isn't it? What that means essentially is that you only come up with new ideas usually when you need to. And I think the problem is, if Guardiola's got access to these tools and these players that he's trusted for so long, it must be tempting to go and trust them because you'll be waiting for them to have a good game. Come on, Bernardo, this week. It'll happen. And it's human nature to do that, to lean on what you know. And I think this is why, subconsciously, I think City, they need to be a bit ruthless. We're not going to get rid of all of them. It's not possible. As much as I would probably sanction that, it probably isn't even smart to get rid of every single player, from that treble era because there's too many. And some of them are still young, of course. That's not what I mean. But I think largely, it has to be... I think it has to be a relatively new squad of players, a young squad. And it might be difficult because, we might, need... we might need a year or two to adapt to that squad, but largely, I think it's what we have to do. what we have to do. And by the way, people mentioned Rodrigo in the chat. Like, I would want something different from that. I think the young and hungry thing is better than the guys who've been there at the top, because I don't think Rodrigo would be that bothered if he didn't work at City for him, because he's done it all at Real Madrid, and I don't see the appeal there for him. So I think I want different to that. I want young and hungry, start of their careers. You know, the profile that we've been signing is the right ones, you know. The ones that they haven't won the Champions League yet and all that kind of stuff. I haven't won loads of titles. I want those ones, you know, the ones that are set to be brilliant, because I think that's the best way to move on. And I think we need to move on for the treble for everyone's sake. I think Bernardo probably needs to move on for his own sake. John Stones, Ake, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Grealish. They just need to move on, man. They need to move on, and we need to see the start of the next generation. I actually felt we did play better defensively. That's the thing, is as much as the game was frustrating and we did concede a very soft, sloppy goal, I felt for the good 60, 75 minutes of it, we were actually really good defensively. I truly, you're getting ads. Look, the ads have nothing to do with me, mate. I'm not starting them with someone saying they're getting ads during the live video. It's nothing to do with me, so I apologise about that. But either way, I gotta get paid, so if you please watch and we appreciate it. But I did feel there were signs of defensive improvement. You could tell that Pep had been working on, you know, stopping transitions and so on during a week of training, because I felt we looked a lot more compact. This guy on screen, I think, definitely made a difference. And it was actually Nico Gonzalez going off that was the catalyst for things being an awful lot more open. And I know he didn't stand out, Nico Gonzalez, but it's what didn't happen, which is what impressed me. You know, being in the right position doesn't necessarily catch your eye, but you can tell when he's not there the difference, because like within 1 minute of this fellow Nunes going off, there was a moment where I caught both Rico Lewis and Kovacic behind the ball, running back to their own goal, chasing a counter-attack. That didn't happen at all in the first half, or when he was on the pitch, Nico Gonzalez. I think like we are better structurally, and we are getting better defensively. I felt like the shape was pretty good up until the goal. You know, we defended the area really well. We kept their XG really low and the chances really low. And ultimately, it was just a much better defensive performance until, you know, we messed up. The substitutions changed it. I think Guardiola, you know, he's hampered by lack of quality on the bench right now. And I understood his fear of Nico Gonzalez getting a second yellow card, because he probably should have been sent off. I don't think he's fully got the fitness there either, which will get better. But yeah, I do feel the defensive improvement, it's getting better from the absolute disaster class that it was 3 months ago. It looks a lot more solid right now. Even if we can see this stupid goal, I still feel overall things feel a little bit like they're heading in the right direction. People talking about Camavinga, by the way. I saw those rumours too. Look, Camavinga would be amazing. I don't really trust it, if I'm being honest. I feel like it's probably nonsense, but Camavinga would be wonderful, as would Cambiasso. I'll take Adam Wharton in a heartbeat too. I think Adam Wharton's a cracking player. I do agree, you know, there's only so much this guy can do because there's no runners ahead of him and so on. But I think he's had a really promising start. Excuse me. No better or worse than anything, you know, Rodri did when he first joined Man City. So you've got to compare it to that. Rodri became a genius, the best ever defensive midfielder for us, arguably, given he's won a Ballon d'Or. But that took 2 or 3 years to get there. So trust in Nico Gonzalez. The final thing I want to talk about is a reflective one. There were signs of a defensive improvement, but overall, we're just a level below where we used to be. I mean, it's not new information, but That is the thing I've learned over the past few weeks. This is the level we are. We could beat Forest or they could beat us. I don't think we're necessarily better than Forest now. I don't think necessarily better than us. They beat us. But largely, I think we're pretty even, you know? And that, of course, is down to who's available and so on. But I don't think City are a title-winning side right now. I don't think Arsenal are either, obviously. But we're in that pack behind Liverpool. We're nowhere near our standards. It isn't going to change until we move on, you know, and get better players. Unfortunately, it is a cut and reshape job. I think there's no way about it. We can ask, you know, Pep to try different things, but we've got too many players injured, too many players old, too many who are level below what they used to be. And I think that is my main takeaway, that we're just not that good anymore. We're still a good side, don't get me wrong, because I think there was moments against Forest that were still pretty decent. Defence was good, but creatively poor. But they're also hard to play against because they're so stubborn and defensive, and they just sit back and defend at their own ground. I sort of admire that, but they're happy to do it. But I do think we're just, right now, we're level below where we used to be. We are a top 4, top 5 challenging side. We'll probably get there, but this is it. That's that's the reality we're currently existing in. And look, I'm reasonably relaxed about it until until the summer. Then at that point, that's where we have to be aggressive and just scoop out all the rotted deadwood and start again. Unfortunately, that sounds a bit harsh. It's not rotted deadwood, I just meant getting old. They're not, they deserve a bit more respect than that. They're legends of the game, some of these guys. So yeah, I think that's the reality. We're not good enough to beat Forest. Definitely, I think you go back to 2 years ago. I had a fit Gundogan, I had a fit De Bruyne, I had a fit Rodri. It's not even close, man. We walked that game. That's the difference. We had geniuses then, but now we don't. We are a notable level below where we were even last season. 2 years ago, the treble side would beat this side 5-0, easy, absolutely easy, which is mad. Which is crazy. It's just a reality. And maybe it'll be too summers to get there, but I do, hand on heart, believe the core of a good side is pretty much there, We'll probably need a keeper if Ederson, but if Ederson stays or not, either way. But then you've got Kusonav, Diaz, Ake, Josko Vardiel. There'll be a right back, Cambiasso probably come in. Then you get Rodri back as well, Nico Gonzalez, probably sign another midfielder, be a creative one, or Balaba or someone. You got Foden still, you got Doku, Savinho, Marmoush, Oscar Bob, Haaland, people like that at Chivery. There is clearly a very good potential starting 11 there. Just add one or two big signings to it, and things could feel very different. Put it this way, if we got a genius like Florian Wirtz and a Cambiasso in and a Balaba, that's team is vastly better, So it is possible within 2 or 3 signings for us to just get better. And I think the problem is it's just depth. Yeah, I agree. Just growing depth at the moment is difficult because I think there's a lot of players on the bench who aren't quite good enough. But that will come as well if we trust a few of the young players and maybe we get 2 or 3, we get some big signings, but don't put it past City to get, 2 or 3 of those 30 million signings who are 22 years old, who played in the French league and actually look like potential superstars, and that could be odd depth there. So yeah. Anyway, they're the 5 things I took from this. Kusonav is a nailed-on starter. He's absolutely brilliant. This guy is a beast. I can't believe how good he is. He's one of the most fascinating things I've come across in football in an awful long time. That sounds mad, but I am absolutely mesmerized by Kusonov's story. There's a feel around him that it's intangible. Like, you rarely see this in football. You rarely see a star just sort of flicker into life and get to witness it up close, sort of unheralded as well. Off the back of a really poor start. It's a real honour to watch, and it's exciting because he's such a unique footballer. I've not seen many like Kusanov, man. So yeah, brilliant player, just fascinating. The way he plays, the ease that he has, the pace. He looks like a cheat code. It's brilliant. We do like a creative spark in the middle. We need this guy to step up, or we need to sign number 10. I think we're going to really feel it next season because no De Bruyne is going to be hard to take. De Bruyne was so good that he bailed us out more often than not. And so did Rodri. And ultimately, we can't trust Rodri next season until we know he's back to his best. De Bruyne won't be here until the quality as he is. So we need to find creative spark in the middle. We need to move on from the treble and separate ourselves from it mentally. It's been an almighty toll, of course, trying to live up to those standards. But I think there's far too many players who are just on spent time now here. Not because they've done anything wrong, because time waits around for no one. There's no shame in that. I think there are signs of defensive improvement. And of course, last but not least, overall we are just a level below right now, which is a sobering thought, but it's just the reality. I'm relaxed to where we are these good days. I know I'm very much I come across as positive, but I tend to still balance things off. I thought positives against negatives, and if there's more positives than negatives, I'm largely going to be a happy person. And I still think there is more positives than negatives. The proof being is that we're 5th, sorry, we're not 16th, 15th or whatever. When we've seen teams fall off the title, we saw Chelsea, end up like 12th, 13th at one point when Jose was let go. Liverpool, had a massive drop off as well of their quality, and they came 7th, didn't they? Something like that. United have fallen off. Look, if our drop off season is 4th or 5th Champions League football, while also seeing lots of new signings come in and the average age of the squad go a lot lower with a lot of young players, I can take it, man, on the balance of things. I can take my medicine. As fans, we've got to be really aware how lucky we've been over the past few years. We've been blessed. And I say this a lot, but I'm going to mention it again. We have witnessed probably the best decade any team's ever had in the history of English football. I'm not even exaggerating. We've won a treble. We've won the Formidables, all 4 domestic trophies. We won Centurions 100 points. We won 4 in a row. We witnessed some of the greatest footballers to ever play in the history of English football. Probably the greatest to ever do it in history of English football, and Kevin De Bruyne maybe. A genius playmaker. We've seen statues and new ground, goals of quality that I could never begin to imagine. Cult heroes left, right and centre. Actual legends and statue players left, right and centre. With a glorious stadium with the best manager in the world. That's one or two decent kits as well, not all perfect. We watched a young lad from a city, from the city's academy, a City fan, become the PFA Player of the Year. We've seen our first Ballon d'Or, and listen to these things for a reason. Because if this is our bad year, we're due it, and we have to accept it and front up and not be little bitches about it. And I think some of us fall into that trap every now and then, and I can sound spoiled. But I'm saying this now because I think we probably sometimes need to peel back the facade of nastiness and frustration and be honest about where we are. It's not actually that bad. It can be fixed. It probably will be fixed. If it doesn't, we crack on and try again. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend, that everything is a disaster. I'd be more worried, put it this way, if we had a squad of young English players and we couldn't get a tune out of them. It's very obvious to me what the issues are. Players have got old. Players got naff. Move on. And that is the issues. That's why I'm not worried. It's very obvious how we need to fix this. If it was like we were at peak squad and we just couldn't get a tune out of them, I'd be like, that's concerning, But that's not the case at all. So yeah, that's where we are. We'll be all right. Yeah, exactly. Top 4, FA Cup potentially. We'll get to play in the Club World Cup too in our worst season in a decade. It's not that bad. It's not great, but we have to not be spoiled, And then, of course, expect more next season. Absolutely. But the mistakes have been made. They've fronted up. They've accepted them. They're trying to fix it very visibly. Pep is now leaning on the younger players an awful lot more. We're heading the right way for now. Until I see otherwise, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I did see the Camavinga links, Tony, but I'm taking him a pinch of salt. He'd be a wonderful signing, but I don't see it for some reason. I think he'll stay at Real Madrid. And yeah, I didn't really talk about Ederson in this. Yeah, I realised that after I'd done all the thumbnail graphics and so on, I could have talked about Ederson. Ederson's weird because it feels hard coming down on him, given he made one of the best saves I've seen in a City shirt for him. Then 10 minutes later, he was arguably weak at the near post, but some people have argued over that all day. Ederson, I think, will probably go anyway. I think he wants to, but yeah. Guys, thanks for watching. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're new. Up the Blues, and tomorrow I'll be live again, talking about something. Don't know what yet, but we will see. Probably some transfer rumours if it carries on with the Camavinga stuff.